They say the weight of legacy is heavier than a mountain, yet more fragile than a cherry blossom in winter's first frost. But for those born to carry such a burden, there is no choice but to endure. For 100 years, the Shinryu clan has guarded a power that could reshape the world or destroy it. Tonight, that legacy rests on the shoulders of one man. My name is Kaito Shinryu. And this is the story of how I almost lost everything my ancestors died to protect. But to understand my story, you must first know of another. The tale of Takeshi Shinryu, my great-grandfather, and the sacrifice that set our destiny in motion. 100 years ago, the world stood on the brink of chaos. An ancient evil, sealed away for millennia, threatened to break free. The warrior clans, once united, lay scattered and broken. All except for one. Takeshi Shinryu, master of the sacred flame style, made a choice that would echo through generations. With the last of his strength, he performed the eternal flame sealing technique, a move so powerful it required the user's very life force to complete. His sacrifice sealed away the darkness, but at a terrible cost. The Shinryu clan, once 100 strong, was reduced to a mere handful. The sacred flame style, with its 1,000 techniques, became a carefully guarded secret passed down through a single line of successors. I was born into this legacy. The last of the Shinryu, keeper of the sacred flame. For 20 years, I trained in solitude, mastering techniques passed down through generations. I thought I understood my purpose. But I was wrong. The ancient evil stirs once more, and a man named Kuramaru has begun hunting down the remaining legacy warriors. One by one, the ancient schools are falling silent. Now I stand at a crossroads. The same choice my great-grandfather faced a century ago. But this time, the stakes are even higher. For I am the last. If I fail, 1,000 years of wisdom dies with me. This is my story. The tale of how I learned that sometimes, to honor a legacy, you must be willing to reshape it. And so began my journey, not just to preserve the past, but to forge a future worthy of those who came before. The ancient scrolls speak of the sacred flame's final technique, the Phoenix Ascension. A power so great that even my great-grandfather never fully mastered it. In my arrogance, I believed I could perfect what he could not. Dawn after dawn, I pushed my limits in the shadow of the ancient dojo. The flames that once danced at my command now threatened to consume me. Each failure carved deeper wounds into my pride, yet I persisted. The weight of the Shinryu name demanded nothing less. But the true test of a warrior is not found in solitary training. It came in the form of a stranger, stumbling into my domain one stormy night. Her name was Yumi, last survivor of the Midnight Crane School. Her eyes carried the same haunted look I had seen in my own reflection, the burden of being the last. Your sacred flame style is not the only legacy at stake, she told me. Kuramaru. He is not just destroying our schools. He is harvesting their essence, corrupting the very techniques our ancestors died to protect. The truth hit harder than any physical blow. The shadowy figure I had encountered was not just another enemy, he was connected to the same ancient evil that my great-grandfather had sealed away. Each fallen school fed its growing power, and Kuramaru was merely a puppet in a grand design centuries in the making. Yumi and I trained together, her midnight crane techniques flowing like water around my flames. Traditional forms are not enough anymore, she would say between sparring sessions. We must adapt, or we will fade away like morning mist. I resisted at first. Every modification to the sacred flame style felt like a betrayal of my ancestors. But as we practiced, I began to understand. The greatest honor we could give our forebears was not to preserve their techniques in amber, but to help them evolve. Then came the revelation that shattered everything we thought we knew. Among the ancient scrolls, we found a truth long forgotten. Kuramaru was not just another power-hungry warrior, he was the failed disciple of the Shadow Fang school, who had once trained alongside my great-grandfather. His bitterness at being deemed unworthy had festered for a century, fueled by the very darkness Takeshi had sacrificed himself to seal. The path of the warrior, I learned, is not a straight line from tradition to mastery. It is a journey of understanding when to hold firm to the old ways, and when to forge new ones. With each passing day, the flames of my technique burned not just with power, but with purpose. As more legacy warriors found their way to our sanctuary, I saw the truth in Yuma's words. Each school held a piece of the puzzle, a fragment of wisdom that, when combined, might be enough to face what was coming. We were not just fighting for our individual legacies anymore. We were fighting for the very soul of martial arts itself. And so, as autumn leaves began to fall, we prepared for the battle that would decide everything. The ancient evil was stirring in its prison, and Kurama's forces grew stronger with each fallen school. The time had come to prove whether the path of the warrior could survive in a world that had forgotten its value. They say the most important battles are fought not with fists, but with the heart. As we gathered at the ancient sealed grounds where my great-grandfather made his sacrifice, I finally understood what that meant. 7 of us remained. 7 last disciples of once great schools, standing against Kurama's army of corrupted warriors. The sacred ground beneath our feet pulsed with ancient power, resonating with the seal that had held for 100 years. Even the air felt heavy with destiny. Your grandfather was a fool, Shinryu, Kurama's voice echoed across the battlefield. He sealed away power that could have elevated humanity beyond its limitations. Today, I will correct that mistake. The corruption had twisted him almost beyond recognition. Where once stood a proud warrior now lurked a creature of shadow and malice. The crests of fallen schools adorned his armor like trophies, each one pulsing with a sickly dark energy. As the battle began, the sky itself seemed to weep. Our techniques clashed in a symphony of ancient arts, the sacred flame, the midnight crane, the mountain fist, the wind weaver's dance, each school's legacy burning bright perhaps for the final time. But something was wrong. With each technique we unleashed, the seal beneath us grew weaker. Kuramaru was not just fighting us, he was using our own power to break the ancient barriers. The very techniques we used to protect our legacy were becoming the keys to its destruction. In that moment of desperation, I heard my great-grandfather's voice, not through ancient scrolls or memorized teachings, but through the wisdom that blood and battle had carved into my soul. The Phoenix Ascension technique I had struggled so long to master. I had been approaching it all wrong. Yumi! I called out across the chaos. Remember what you taught me. About adaptation. About evolution. Our eyes met, and in that instant, she understood. One by one, we called the others. The time had come to either evolve or perish. What happened next would be spoken of for generations to come. 7 schools, 7 legacies, flowing together like tributaries into a mighty river. The sacred flame wrapped around the midnight crane's precision, empowered by the mountain fist's strength, carried on the wind weaver's currents. Not a corruption of our arts, but a harmony of their purest essence. As Kuramaru reached for the seal, drunk on the prospect of ultimate power, we struck as one. The Phoenix Ascension, born anew through unity rather than isolation, blazed with the combined light of 7 ancient schools. Not destroying the legacy of the past, but transforming it into something greater. Impossible. Kurama's scream echoed as the purifying flame engulfed him. The old ways. They cannot. The old ways are not dying, Kuramaru, I replied, feeling the strength of generations flowing through me. They are being reborn. The seal held. The ancient evil remained contained. But more importantly, something new had been born on that battlefield. An understanding that true legacy is not a cage to trap us in the past, but a foundation upon which to build the future. Today, a new generation trains in the courtyard of what was once the Shinryu dojo. They learn not just the sacred flame style, but elements of all 7 schools, preserved and evolved through the wisdom of their union. The weight of legacy still hangs heavy, but now it is carried on many shoulders, growing stronger through sharing rather than isolation. I am Kaito Shinryu, and this was my story. Not just of preservation, but of transformation. For in the end, the greatest legacy we can leave is not the techniques we protect, but the wisdom to know when to let them grow into something new. Sometimes, the most honorable way to fight for legacy is to let it change.